So communicate. This means to support your team to work at their full potential and align with the company's culture, core values, and vision. So what does this mean? You, as the entrepreneur, you are trying to get from A to B to that end result, and you know that you can't do it on your own. So you've brought on this team to support you. So now you've got you and your team rowing, trying to get to that finish line. And what's happening is that if you're not communicating the vision of what you're trying to achieve within your business, you're not communicating that with your team, it's really difficult for them to really understand and connect the dots of what's going on in the business. So you can imagine your team are rowing. Some are going left, some are going right, the boat topples over, it's rocking from side to side. You have to start again. So it takes you longer to get to that end goal. There's struggles, it's difficult, there's setbacks. It can be really frustrating and a rocky road to get there. So it's really key that communication is paramount in this. So whatever you are thinking about is downloaded to your team. Think of it like a jigsaw puzzle, and there's 1,000 pieces. If you're just giving your team member one puzzle, that one task, that one project, but they don't understand the other pieces of the puzzle, even though it's not their role and responsibility, it's key for them to understand the other areas so that they can make decisions and understand what's going on, so they understand why they're doing something, how what they're doing affects the next thing that's coming on, and how big of a role they play within what they're doing. And research shows that 39% of employees do not know the company's goals and objectives. 47% are familiar with the company's performance. 44% do not know how the role they play helps meet the business goals. So this is really, really important to get this in place, because you don't want this where you have someone coming into your business and you've thrown them off the deep end to sink or swim. They're basically going in blind and they're jumping into the deep end. So what you want to do is over communicate. If you can learn anything from today's training, is to over communicate with your team members, because the more you do this, the more time you spend with them, the more you're going to get the rewards of this later down the line, that you don't need to handhold them, you don't need to hold on to the reins, because they understand it, they get it, and they want to help you. We don't want this. We don't want you to be in this position of this explosion where you could get into a position where you need some help in your business like yesterday. So you hire fast, but little time is spent on the communication part, the company values, the mission. And this is the repercussion when you speed through something really quickly. There's no communication. It's a hot mess. How many times have you just brought someone in, assumed they knew what they're doing, and you've left them to get on with it because they know what they're doing, and then you come back and find out that is completely off the scale of what you wanted them to do, and it's wasted time, it's wasted the business's money. So this is really key, so that as you move away and focus on those higher revenue tasks, that you're not then having to go back and firefight and clean up the mess. So it's really important to communicate in the granular level through Loom recordings, which is a great software tool I love to use, using Slack, team communication through Zoom calls, phone calls, project management tools like Asana, which I love to use, and also giving that feedback. The opportunities and those team reviews are quite key through that communication. So what I'd love for you to do is to create 3 to 7 core values. This will define the culture that attracts people of similar values and repel those who don't attract. So think of it like your sales page. When you're selling your services or your products, you'll often say, this is for you if, and then you'll have like 3 to 5 bullet points, and this is not for you if. So it's the same with your core values. You want to outline what are the core values that you want to represent your business, so then you're attracting those key people. And if you're not sure what they are, just start with 1 or 2, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be perfect, because it's always going to evolve and it's always going to change. Think about current and past team members you've had, and think of like the best person you've had in your team. What core values did they represent that would help you to solidify these? And also think about maybe when you worked in corporate or for somebody else, what were the core values that you liked that represented that business that you could start putting together that reflect you? So within this is going to help you to create that culture. Think about the qualities, the attributes, the characteristics that makes these people valuable assets. Write all these characteristics on paper, and then examine what you've written, and convert those notes into those bullet points of 3 to 7 that clearly articulate what your values are. Here is some examples of some that I've put together. So Starbucks core values is 1, provide a great work environment and treat each other with respect and dignity. So that's the Starbucks. And then we have Nike here. 1, our business is change. 5, assume nothing. Make sure people keep their promises. Push yourselves, push others, stretch the possible. So this was created in 1980s and it still stands as part of their ethos. So this is something that's going to stay with you for a long period of time. But as I said, it will evolve. And this is not something where it's a one and done, where you just create it and then you put it up on your website or put it in a folder and then it's hidden in the filing cabinet. It's really important that these are discussed throughout meetings. So for an example, when decisions are made, they would bring these to the table. So they might say, okay, assume nothing, make sure people keep their promises. So it could be with a team member who is not sticking to the timeline or is not doing something according to plans of that project. You can actually revisit these and bring them back into the conversation. I know that you were working on this, but going back to our values, we mentioned about keeping to the promises, and you mentioned that you were going to get this done by this time. So it's really important for these to be reinforced throughout and that your team members understand and know what these are all the time. Another one, you can also do it just by words. So you can see here, these are broken down more into sentences. And these are just words: ethics, transparency, responsibility, professionalism, and teamwork. Here are the ones that I have in my business. The headlines are: we are solution focused, we act with integrity, we love simplicity, we are kind, and we are fueled. And actually the main one that I knew without a doubt was we act with integrity. That is like my key one that I have in my business. So what I want you to do now is to create your 3 to 7 core values, and write those down and work with it. Maybe you just need to block some time out in your diary to really sit and think about it and not rush the process, because companies have an enduring culture that defines who you are, and what those values will attract those like-minded people. So it's really important to drive those values through your culture, and people who fit that culture will know and feel why it's important and why they need to be part of the business, so they feel in place with it.